I don't have many friends, and since you clicked on this video, I am now under the impression that you are on the same boat as I am, not having many friends. Growing up as a kid, I rarely got into any trouble. I had decent friends, I had decent grades, and I was an overall decent kid. In elementary, I had common interest with a lot of the other young kids there. We all grew up watching YouTubers like Smosh, Vanoss Gaming, PewDiePie, throw in some Korix Kenshin, and a lot of the well-known YouTubers for their time. And that interest sparked that friendship for us to communicate, to hang out, to socialize with one another. It was also during this time I had stumbled around pornography. Around the 5th, 6th grade year, I saw a pornographic video. Now, as we know, the internet is a vast resource of information that could be utilized for one or two things. For information to help educate yourself, or for pleasure. And unfortunately, I don't think many kids around that age are on the internet for education as much as I'd like to think that they are. So I started watching it around 5th, 6th grade, like I said, and it was a really, really bad habit that I started developing at such an early age of my life. I was fortunate enough to lay off of it for a year before getting back into it because of the other peers, other students. They also themselves watched pornography, and they showed me a clip of a woman being intimate with a man, and that again sparked my urge to want to watch pornography. I understand there may be some confusion as to why I'm telling you this, but please trust me on this. It'll make sense as I continue explaining my story. So, elementary school eventually concluded, and it was off to middle school, the most fun time of a kid's life. Middle school is one of the most unbelievable year for a kid's life in the sense that it is just so bad. Like, that is when you're going through hard puberty, hard change, and it's essentially kickstarting your teenage years before you go off into high school, right? Now, during this time, I had a couple of friend groups. Most of my friend groups was comprised of females rather than boys, so that also eventually led me to having more of a flamboyant nature. It was also because of this, it led to many, I guess I'll just say it how it is, gay kids thinking I was also gay, and therefore they would want to be my friend or try to be flirtatious with me. I myself, like many other kids, was a kid who really wanted to try to stand out, prove himself, and seek as much validation as he could. I wanted to be seen as one of the boys, and it was also a tricky spot I was in due to my ethnicity. This may not seem very significant, but I am a Hispanic man, so being a Hispanic man in America, I essentially was Americanized, and so I had more of an American attitude than my macho parents. I guess what I'm trying to say is I wasn't essentially white enough for the white kids, and I wasn't Hispanic enough for the Hispanic kids. So those are three things so far. My flamboyant nature, the fact that I didn't really find my group, my stereotypical group, and having an addiction to pornography, or bad habits, bad urges, because I know some people, they say that pornography, you technically don't exactly have addictions to that. It's really the masturbation and the lustful urges that you really do have the addiction to. So I had those three bad attributes about myself that led to a lonely path of isolation. So I wanted to be seen by the boys because I wanted to seek validation from them because most of the peers that I would hang out with was mostly girls. During my first year of middle school, I had managed to get my first girlfriend ever. And having a girlfriend in middle school is very odd due to the fact that it's more of an experimentation of what kind of attributes you would expect your girlfriend to have in the future. It's basically like trying to get a feel for what kind of woman is compatible with you, suits you, compliment you. So since this was my first girlfriend, of course, two middle schoolers being boyfriend girlfriend, they don't know what a real relationship is and they don't know how to act in a mature relationship. I mean, there is no maturity. If it's two middle schoolers, maturity is pretty much out the window, am I right? But needless to say, I did have my first girlfriend. There's a lot of enmity between us. We were a lot more on the physical affection type rather than the verbal, because as you know, how are you gonna kind of talk about life when you're in middle school and you know like talk about I guess you could talk about your future plans, but unfortunately in middle school, the commonality is that if you're dating, there's more intimacy involved rather than getting to know the other person. And so she kind of introduced me into the whole intimacy scene. She wanted to come over to my house, and when we were at the theaters, of course, we did things we're not supposed to do. And please, 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 don't ever leave your kids in a room by themselves. Please, 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 please. And up until that point, it had just been me watching a woman and a man being intimate through a screen. So although I was watching that stuff happening, I never really knew what it meant to do those intimate things in real life. But after getting a grasp on how it feels like, I knew my flesh, my desire to want more would only grow for the coming years. And the worst part is that, like I had mentioned earlier, I had stopped watching it for about a year. So in like I think fifth or sixth grade, I think yeah, sixth grade, I stopped early in my sixth grade year, and then going on into seventh grade, I believe a other student, he showed me a video of a man and a woman having intercourse, and then again that sparked the want for me to watch those things on the internet again. So now that I had officially experienced two things in my life that no child should ever have to experience, I was pretty keen on wanting more in the upcoming years. My urges would come, and I'll explain to you right now how that was a big contributor as to why I live the life I do now with no friends. Because in middle school, I had a friend group with this really awesome girl who was part of that friend group, and we're gonna call her Kat. And Kat had a crush on me, and she was always very sweet to me. But because I had lustful urges that had now grown, developed in me, I didn't really see. I essentially neglected. There we go with that word again. Essentially, I neglected her feelings in favor for wanting to do intimate things with another friend that was part of that group. And we're calling her Cat because she pretty much looked like a cat. Years go by, and I'm ruining a lot of female friendships because these girls are being led to believe that I am the kind of kid who was willing to be in a relationship with them and act mature, and I want something serious with them. And of course, when we're young and dumb, we don't know what we really want. we don't know what serious relationships are like, and we don't know how to be mature to the fullest just yet. So a lot of female friendships came and went because I didn't know how to set my foot down and tell them I don't want anything more than just a friendship. I would let them kind of like me. I would be flirtatious with them, and unfortunately, like, if they kiss me, I kiss them, and it was just a whole mess because I was leading them to believe that we can be something more than just friends. And in reality, I was just trying to satisfy the flesh because, as you know, when you're at that age, you often see lots of movies um, pertaining to having relationships and what high school is going to be like. And if you don't get laid or lose your virginity by a certain age, then you are kind of an outcast to society because it's like an initiation, sort of, where you need to do so and so before leaving high school because it's a rite of passage. Like when you go to prom, it's a rite of passage. And if you don't go to prom, then your life is pretty much going to be bumpy. You're not going to experience your life to the fullest because you didn't go to prom and that kind of stuff, I guess. I'm now in high school, freshman, sophomore years. I have really bad qualities for being just a teen. I was making quite a bit of enemies more than I was just making friends to get along with. And as we know, you can't live a normal teenage life if you're too busy making enemies rather than just friends. Because it's high school. What enemies do you have, really? Just be friends with them. Ask if they want to go watch a movie or something, or just be kind, be friendly, and get to know somebody. Get to know another person. It's that simple. You don't need to dislike someone else just because your friends dislike that person or anything like that. Or, if you're making a judgment on someone just from the appearance alone or your first impression of them, then, you're kind of being blinded by the fact that you're just being judgmental instead of just getting to know somebody. But, yeah, so because of that, I felt as though I had a sense of superiority over to I was superior to other people. That was the feeling that I had, and I just had so many bad qualities about myself at this point. I was falling into the addiction of masturbation. I was very flamboyant. I didn't know how to act mature, and I was constantly seeking validation from peers around me. I would stop being myself and try to align my maturity or my personality more with the other guys who were a bit more laid back, because I didn't want to be seen as an outcast or that flamboyant friend of the group who just doesn't know how to stop acting weird. And because I had this flamboyant, insecure nature, it led to me thinking that I can just avoid any obstacle that came my way. So anything I deem too hard or unreasonably difficult, I would just push it aside. I was in a sport, and I didn't really like the coach that much. I didn't like the team, and I was always just looking on at the negative side of things rather than, wow, I have good grades, I'm doing good, I'm in sports, I have friends, and I would just always look for a reason to criticize everything around me instead of just giving thanks to the Lord for what I have. And I had this really bad trait about myself that if you weren't with me, then you were against me. If you weren't my friend, then you're certainly not even an acquaintance. And I would just always try to take the easy way out, Like, I would skip practice a lot. I would ditch school a lot. I know I'm making myself seem like the epitome of what a bad student is like. But I promise you, I also, of course, did have my good traits. But right now, we're not sharing the good traits. We're sharing all the traits that led me to being friendless. And so there I am freshman year. There I am sophomore year. I'm in the sports for those 2 years. I'm developing all these bad attributes. I'm not learning how to appreciate the things, the friends, the people that I met in my life. I'm not learning to appreciate the sport, the grades, the school I was attending. It was a fairly good school. Instead, I was always just complaining. I'm going to quickly explain something to you. This school that I was attending was from another city. So this wasn't my home school, my local school, so to say. Everybody knows about that, right? I was at that school freshman year, sophomore year, and then come around junior year, I wanted to go back to my local school. Now, when I was in middle school, we were given the choice. Either we go to the school in another city, it wasn't that far, it was like a 15-minute drive, or we go to our local school. Now, majority of the students who had been attending that middle school was of course going to be going to the local school. And because I wanted a fresh start, free of any drama, I had decided to go to the school that was in another city. Okay, so now that we've established that, it's junior year, and now I'm getting ready to transfer to my local school. And the reason why was because I felt like I didn't fit in, because the majority populace of the school that I was attending currently was majority white students. I didn't really felt like I belong, culturally speaking, because I was kind of like an outcast. I wasn't really included in a lot of groups, sorry, so to say. So by me transferring back to my local or my home school, I was thinking to myself that I'll be able to fit in a lot better because I am now attending a school that I'm familiar with, and because I knew a good portion of the students who was attending that local school, I felt like I would be welcome in open arms and I would fit in well because culturally speaking, this local school was majority Hispanic. And now things get really interesting because it's now junior year and I had the chance of seeing Kat again. And remember Kat, she's going to be important a bit more further down the story, okay? So I went to the local school and my anticipation for being welcomed with open arms with the students who were familiar with me was correct. As was like when they saw me, they recognized me, they go, oh my gosh, you look different. Cause we kind of haven't seen each other in 2 years. And so seeing each other again was like, wow, like it's crazy. So much has happened. Where you been? I hear so much talk about the school that is in another city. What was that like? And then I was being called things like preppy boy because that school seemed pretty preppy, so to say. I mean, you had students pulling up in Teslas and other pretty expensive vehicles, so I was considered a prep boy now. But because everyone who I had attended middle school with already had their cliques, already had their friends, not to mention that I also, although knew them, we didn't really have good friendships. Since we didn't talk for the 2 years that I was at the school that was in another city, we didn't really build friendship after middle school. So they already had their friends. It was cool. I got to sit next to the students who I went to the middle school and the elementary with because those were childhood friends. So there was still that connection where I can just sit down next to them, talk with them, see how they're doing. So it's not like we had a daily friendship going on, but it was enough for me to be at least conversational with them. And boy, oh boy, junior year, wow, man, junior year had to be one of the worst years of my life because it was the year of my life where I really just digested all of the bad attributes I had into one playground and just let it go all loose. So I wanted to be friends with the girl who we named Kat again because she was a really cool girl and I realized how badly I messed up neglecting her feeling towards me in exchange for developing intimate relations with the friends of that group. So there was another friend apart from Kat, and we'll call her Barney. I don't know, let's just call her Barney. Actually, never mind, I take that back, let's not call her Barney. CJ, let's call her CJ. So there's Kat and there's CJ, and I was really really dumb. I would do very perverted things with CJ, and it was just the whole shebang that you would typically hear in middle school about sending no pictures to each other and just doing bad things that, of course, I'm not going to further explain. This, of course, broke Kat's heart, and this happened during middle school. Now, the years progressing, I had constantly done Kat dirty, and I could start seeing that she was having more and more disinterest in me as the years progressed, because instead of just focusing my attention towards her, I would constantly try to be flirtatious with all the girls around me. I would try to basically have options. It's really funny to say because I've heard the talk that young people, young teenagers say nowadays, and it's like options. Like, if this option doesn't work, you got this option. Like, if this girl doesn't work, you got this girl. And that's basically what I would try doing. I would try to have as many options as I could, and I wanted to be flirtatious, and I wanted to just have them there if I stopped being friends with this one, so I could start being flirtatious with this one. And, that's just really wrong because they were my friends and I was just treating them like a potential option in case this one didn't work, because I just wanted to satisfy my flesh worldly desires instead of just developing strong friendships that I probably still could be friends with them. And the irony is that if I was the individual I am now, but back then, I would certainly be friends with them, possibly even to this day, since I've known how much I've matured since then, and it's honestly just been such a roller coaster, but we're getting towards the end, don't worry. So, junior year was very interesting too, because I tried talking to Kat again. It had been like almost like a full year of me not seeing her, and I tried talking to Kat again, except she wasn't having it. And instead of taking my offer to be friends again, she completely turned it down. And this left me really heartbroken. But it was a heartbroken that was necessary because I now knew what she felt when I neglected her hand in friendship. And she was a very sweet, cute, emotionally intelligent young lady because it hit me like a freight train when she told me that she no longer wanted to be friends because I'd never met someone who was that young but so certain without any hesitation that their decision was going to be no. Like, no, I'll think about it. No maybes, no nothing, just no. A stern no. And I admired that, but it was admiration that was happening. Well, tears were coming down my face because I was sad that I would no longer have the opportunity to be friends with her. And even a year or two later, actually just 1 year later, it's just 1 year, even just a couple of months, I would try even one more time. That's how much I wanted to redeem myself, be friends with her, because she was just a very honest and laid back person. But the answer was no, and so after she told me, I went to like the side of the school and I just started crying because I realized how much of a butt face I'd been. Now get this part's even crazier, and I still can't believe I did this. This is gonna blow your mind. Like it's blowing my mind. Like now that I am in my early 20s. And I am now reminiscing. I don't know if that's the right word because I don't want to portray the fact that I'm thinking good about this. But now that I'm like looking back in retrospect, there we go, retrospect. Now that I look back in retrospect, it is so absurd to me how much of a difference I contrast with my younger self. Like, wow, like looking back at it, I was just such a different person in the high school years because you're in high school, it seems like it's the world to you, that nothing else matters except for what happens that day in high school. But then you come to find out after high school that you are thrown into the large waves of life, and high school was just a measly way of setting you up for that. And it is honestly just teaching you how to swim by just throwing you in the water and expecting you'll survive without drowning. But anyway, couple weeks later, I eventually start talking to this other girl. And we'll call this girl now, let's call her Cindy. I don't know, I just thought of something random. Yeah, let's call her Cindy. Now, Cindy, she was a very interesting person. She was a very sweet girl. And because of the girl telling me Kat told me no, I then entered my sad arc, so to say, and I started focusing more on myself again, and I started paying attention more in math, I started getting more involved, and that's when I met Cindy. Now, when I met Cindy, it was a very weird event that kind of happened. Well, it's not really a weird event, but she was basically falling behind class, and since I was doing pretty well in Algebra 2, my math teacher noticed me sitting there because I didn't have any friends during this time, because remember all those attributes I had about myself, insecurities, I was into pornography, masturbation, I was very flamboyant, I didn't know how to take accountability, and I certainly didn't know how to take on an obstacle head on when it arisen. And so basically that's just what I would do. We would have these 10-minute breaks, and instead of me going out, hanging with my friends, socializing, I would just go to my math teacher's class, because he'd always be there just munching on his food and just waiting for the bell to ring before class started. So I would just happily go to his class, do any more math homework I need to catch up on, or just really hone in on the topics that we were learning for that day, the sections. He was talking to Cindy about how she needs to catch up on her grades and that she should get herself a tutor. And so my math teacher, he saw me sitting at the desk and he asked me if I would like to tutor her. And I said, sure, why not? And so almost every day after school ended, I would go to the library with her and I would tutor her on the math topics that we had learned for that week. But yeah, she was a very kind person, and she was from somewhere in South America. And if I'm being quite honest, whenever I would try tutoring her, the tutoring sessions quickly turned into conversations about talking about ourselves, about each other, getting to know each other. Because if I'm being honest, I thought she was pretty cute, and I'm just gonna say it how it is. She had a fairly large gluteus maximus, if I'm being honest. And of course, for young men at that age, need I say more? So during that school year, I guess K-pop was becoming a fairly big thing during that time. So of course, all the young teenage girls, they were going wild for it. And I guess since I looked like a K-pop singer, she had taken quite the interest in me, because she was a huge K-pop fan. She even has told me that she idolized them. Now, if I were to ever hear a woman today tell me that while I'm on a date with her, if I'm being quite honest, I think I would not do a second date, because that wasn't her only interest. She had other interests like tarot reading, crystals that they have significant meanings to them, and thing about astrology, what's your zodiac signs, and all these things. And those things exactly weren't my forte during that time, but because I was drawn in by her, I was allured by her, I just disregarded all those things that I should have just pushed away. But although she had these things about herself that I didn't think were good or I didn't like, I still ended up being the person to break her heart the most in the end. And you'll see why in just a moment. So I'm really digging this girl, and we're starting to get to know each other. And later during that year, I had developed more friends, but came and go. So for 2 months of me knowing this girl, more no-no stuff. So even though I had not learned my lesson with Kat about how lust can just eat at you, and instead of developing maturity and strong relationships, I fell back into it again, but with this girl. It's crazy, I know. As you can imagine, it didn't work out in the end, and we were doing a lot of bad stuff that we shouldn't have been doing. And if I'm being honest, it really hurts me to say, but I feel like the biggest problem in the relationship was me. I was manipulative, I was controlling, and I was just such a bad kid. I was so insecure, and of course, that is not a reason to validate or to justify my actions towards her, but it eventually got so bad that I was urging her to have, you know, do the thing, I wanted to lose my virginity with her, so to say. And it was just such a bad time of my life because now I realize how beautiful it is to have your virginity and not be dumb. And just because society tells you that you have to lose your virginity at a certain age, that's what you have to abide by what they say. But that is not the thing that overwhelms me the most. During that time, what overwhelmed me was the fact that after we had done it, I broke up with her a week later. I was kind of persuasive with her, telling her that, come on, let's do it, like let's see how it is. Let's lose our virginity together, and it was just so bad, and she ended up being down to do it, and then yeah, it wasn't our first time being intimate with one another. As maybe I believe like a month prior. She had come over to my house and we did bad things again, and then yeah, a month later, we actually did it, and I broke up with her a week later, and this was already during the winter time, just before the year was about to end. So this happened spot on the final week before our 2 week break. So you know how we all got 2 week breaks for winter. And for those 2 weeks, I was terrified. I was terrified about how many people would find out that I did it with her and that I broke up with her a week later. And instead of thinking about how she felt about where I was wrong, I was just thinking about the repercussions. Now that's bad. And instead of just owning up to it like a man, I chickened. I was a chicken. I put my mask on. I put my hoodie up. I ended up depressed because I was so scared. And if I'm being honest, I guess part of me at that moment did feel bad, but I didn't realize how bad I felt just yet. Not until she sent me so many long paragraphs explaining why I was such a bad person, what I did wrong, how she felt, and it honestly just crushed me. I had never been chewed out like that in my life, and I got chewed out by a teenager. And I don't think I've ever been chewed out like that in my entire life. It was that bad, as you'd expect it to be, because she has so many insecurities, and the fact that I did that, we did it, and she lost something very special. She let me have it. She chewed me out, and the thing that I could do is just let it happen. She chewed me out, and that was that. Now I'm gonna tell you something else. I can't tell you how bad it is for you to have intercourse with someone when it's not your wife. Because if you're somebody who likes to drink, somebody likes to constantly sleep around, party, you have a lot of sinful things about yourself, a lot of sin that you've committed. All of those nasty habits carries on to that person. When you do intimate things with somebody, it kind of carries on to her. It's like you're giving her a piece of yourself in the context of a sinful nature. Because years later, when I found out how she had been doing through a friend, I had found out that she was acting like me. She was sleeping around, she was being perverted, and still had the same insecurities, but instead she had more free decision, meaning that she was insecure still, but she wasn't insecure in the way that she's like a cute shy girl anymore. She was just out there putting herself out there to get noticed by guys, and that's real stuff. Real stuff, as in you can give your sin to other people when you allow them into that world, when you influence them into that world, when you do intimate things. Since I was intimate with her and I had intercourse with her, it all those bad things about myself just like she got some of those things about myself, and it was bad, man. Now, before I am chewed out in the comments, I am aware of how bad this was. I'm sorry. Even as I repeat this story now, I'm still baffled. Being in my early 20s, it's crazy to me how I was back then. Because I kid you not, the person I've grown into, the Jesus Christ saved my life, man. The way I am now is just so different from how I was back in high school, middle school, elementary. I never thought I could have grown into the person that I am now, and I'll get to that part right now about myself, how I am now today. So I'm gonna save you the rest of what happened afterwards. I'm sure, as you can imagine, a lot of crazy things happened afterwards. I just kind of shut myself out, and I started doing really bad in math, and yeah, I was just on a decline. I was entering into depression, and then that's when I met another friend, another female friend, and we'll call her this time Anta. Let's call her Anta. Now, Anta, she also, of course, she needed help in math, and then of course, I didn't really like offer her full blown tutoring. Like, hey, I could, of course not. Like, hey, I'll teach you about this and that after school. I just let it be where if she had questions, I told her she could just come to me and I'll just help her. And of course, this was 3 months later after what happened with the girlfriend and that whole thing during the winter break. But long story short, not the exact same thing happened, but something similar happened again, and we just stopped being friends, and it was so disappointing. 3 times, well, actually 4 times, 4 times similar things happened with female friends I could have just been good friends with. I didn't have to be more friendly with them. I didn't have to be flirtatious with them. I could have just happily been their friend. Be like, hey, you wanna be friends? Let's play video games. Let's go watch a movie or anything. We don't have to be anything more than just friends. Just like being there, socializing, and just having friendship is something that should have mattered the most to me, but it didn't. Most to me, as in high school life. This is where the irony comes in, because after junior year had finished, I finally had decided something in me needs to change. And I read the book that the other girl, Anta, well, I think we're calling her Anta, she gave me a book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. And I read that book over the summer. I finished the whole book, and that was a great way that was like a good kickstart of me wanting to start reading books. And, I was really grateful because she gave me that book. I read it, and then it opened up my worldview. Like, it really helped me to understand where my flaws lied and how I need to go about changing them. So, the funny thing is, although I transferred to my local school junior year, I ended up going back to the preppy school that was in another city. It was really funny because again, it was like I was met with open arms. I was like friend with them again. I'm like, bro, where'd you go? I haven't seen you in a year. Like, there's so much to catch up on because some of the guys in the sports team, they had apparently gotten really good, and they wanted to talk to me about how good they got, and that they started talking to me and inviting me out, and I was just so happy. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like I created so much drama there. And then I just left. If you're still watching this, thank you. I kind of wanted to talk about this for a while because I feel like there are a lot of young, sad people out there who are just looking for someone to relate to. And I feel like by me putting my life out there like that, you can kind of see where I went wrong, and you can hopefully learn from my mistakes. And that's really what I'm hoping for. And so yeah, so now I'm back at the school that's in another city, 15 minutes away. It's not very far, like I said. And I was met with open arms, so it was very funny. It was kind of like the same thing from my local school, except now I'm back at the preppy school and people remember who I am and they say where I've been. And so now I'm really just having fun. It's the last year I'll ever be in high school. You've seen it all the time. It's always in movies how high school is great and live your life in high school. Live out the, how do I say, live your best life in high schools, because they're going to be the best years of your life. And once you graduate, you're not going to be able to experience something like that again. And boy, oh boy, you hear it so many times, but you just don't really let it sink in until you're no longer in it. Like, wow, I'm no longer in high school. And it feels like yesterday I was stepping off of campus, getting into my car as I drive away, look in the rearview mirror to never see that high school again. It is such a surreal feeling, because it's all you know, and you've been in elementary, middle school, high school. It's been your whole life, and then one day, gone. That's it. Hasta luego. You're out of there. Goodbye. So yeah, my semester year, I'm in video production. I'm having a good time, you know. I started getting really good skills in video production work, and I'm now at that high school that's in another city, and I'm making friends, and I'm having a good time. I even started liking this really cute girl, and I'm not sure whether or not I want to have something like with her. And if I do, I know this time for sure I want it to be serious. And I'm not even sure if I want a serious relationship, because I just want to enjoy a drama-free life, being with friends, enjoying Halloween, like going to Halloween parties, and just, you know, like living my last high school year to its fullest. And I'm taking easy classes. I'm only taking the classes I need to be able to graduate. And, you know, it's fun time, you know. I'm in gym class, you know, talking to people, getting to see what they're gonna possibly do after high school. And unfortunately, this didn't last long, because it seems like Jesus Christ was trying to teach me something very important. And Jesus Christ was someone I didn't really care too much to learn about during this time of my life, but I always known he had been there for me. There's like so many like signs that he just was there watching over me, but I didn't really learn to appreciate it until today. I feel like this was like a kind of what comes around goes around kind of thing, because there's this girl in the video production class. My video production teacher, he's apparently really likes me, but once he found out that I was not becoming, but like, I didn't say I was becoming, but except that I was religious. I was trying to be religious, not trying to be. I was following a path that was great for me, and was trying during that time to learn about Jesus Christ, to actually read the Bible, because I have thought about God so many times in my life. You know, I was going to a Christian church, but I never really started, you know, thinking about that, except like that time of my life, because I had gone through so much pain to the point where I really wanted to take a step back during that summer, going from junior year to senior year of that summer, to really look at myself in the mirror and establish where I go wrong, like to see what kind of person I wanted to be, you know, because I wanted a better version of myself. So senior comes around, there's this white girl. She's a bit taller than me, and man, she was awesome. I loved everything about her. She had a smile. Her personality was so radiant. Her smile could absolutely just like blow you away. She was just such a bright, outgoing person. So cute and very involving too. She would want to involve you into any activities that they were doing that she didn't think you were too weird to be a part of. And so that was something really nice about her. But a couple weeks in, we're talking. We have some intimacy, but nothing crazy. Good. Thank God. It's bad stuff she shouldn't be doing at that age anyway. And, you know, I start really liking her. I even think I'm falling in love. But she didn't really reciprocate those feelings. And I thought she had those kind of feelings. And so I was leading myself on to think that she wanted something more than just friends, but she was in reality just looking for a good time. She wasn't looking for a long time. Homegirl was looking for a good time. And I guess I was that person she was looking to do it with, but when she found out I wanted something more, she wasn't in on the ride. And I started to see that she had, she had like a negative side. I'm not gonna criticize her or anything like that, because I understand she was just another young dumb teenager looking to live her best teenage life, and for her to do that, I guess she had to lose her virginity. I was hurt because I thought that this could be something real between us, and she did me dirty, so to say. And it was poetic in its own way, because the same thing I had been doing to the girls in my prior years was now something that happened to me. And now I could sit down and digest what it was that I really was doing to my female friends in the past. And now it just kind of came back and slapped me in the face. And it was, man, it sucked. It sucked. Now I really understood when somebody really likes you and you just go and do crappy things that that person doesn't like you to be doing because they like you, that it just hurts them. It really does. And it hurt me when she didn't. She was just kind of being free and just living her best life, so to say. And there's a lot of drama happening in the video production crew. And since she was kind of like the main lead in that video production group, of course, everybody took her side. And so now, very funny, I was alienated. I was outcast from the video production crew. And because of this, I was once again at a point in my life, the second semester, technically, where I didn't have any friends. I had no friends at all. I had developed friendships and lost friendships, and no longer did I have any friends because of my poor attitude I had. And there I was. Since I had my heart broken, this was around the time where the Trend twins, David Lade, Sam Schulich, Sarah Safari, I think her name was Lean Beef Patty. All these gym influencers, they really started picking up, and it just rubbed off on me. And since I had my heart broken, I thought I'd enter that gym arc area, and I did. And I started eating a lot. I gained weight and I gained muscle, but mostly fat. I was mostly becoming fat, if I'm being honest. So I was just bulking, and I went to the gym, and I did the weights hard because I was just trying to. I just, when I looked in a mirror, I just didn't like what I see anymore, and I entered in such a depressed stage of my life. Man, I think that was the most depressing time of my life. That had been my most depressed ever. I was put on antidepressants, and I just really wanted to off myself. I wanted to end things. I didn't want to continue going on anymore. But because I felt like God had a greater purpose for me, and I knew about God. I didn't formally know him just yet, but because I knew following him is what's better and I'll only hurt those around me, I decided not to, end things. And oh man, something really demonic happened. When I was depressed, for some reason I liked showering in the dark. It's really weird to say, but I had developed this imaginary little person of myself in my head that just sat alone, naked in the dark, with nothing but a single beam of light shining down onto my body, and the vast darkness surrounding myself. Like, there's only just a light just showing my naked body, and kind of like a fetal position, just sad and crying. Talking about it now and remembering all these things is pretty wild to me, actually. And yeah, I would just shower in the dark and just sit in the shower, cry, and I'm in the dark. It's just in the dark, and I was just so depressed. After I had finished showering, I thought I could hear, laughter. I looked in the mirror and something really supernatural happened where I just was crying, but no tears were coming out. And I knew what was happening, but I didn't really like understand how bad to the extent of how bad it was. It was demonic. There's no other way of saying it. It was very demonic. No tears coming down, and then that crying turned into this very subtle slight laughter, and then just nothing. I just was like blank face staring straight at myself in the mirror. I didn't move, no nothing, and it felt like possession in some kind of way. Because I didn't move, I didn't talk, I didn't say anything. I just looked at myself in the mirror and didn't move, and I just stood there for like 10 minutes. It's very hard to explain to you, but when you're at that stage in your life where you feel so confident that you could off yourself, like that you're not afraid to do it, where a weapon that felt comforting because it'll discontinue things for you. It'll make all the pain go away. And I just want you to know, if you're a teenager and if by any chance whatsoever you're watching this and you manage to stay up until this point of the video, just, you're not alone, dude. Like, dude, girl, whatever. Like, you're not alone. You know, everything's gonna be okay. Like, I don't know how to stress it enough to you that I promise you your life is in the hands of a good God. If you seek him with your heart and you say, please, Jesus Christ, take away this pain, save me, you will be saved. He saved my life. I'm getting kind of emotional thinking about it, but truly he saved my life. I was so sure that I could end things. I really was sure. I really wanted to do it too, but everything ended up being okay. Else, I wouldn't be telling you this story right now. I remember in my final semester of my senior year of high school, I was alone. I really was alone. I didn't have any friends, like literally no friends whatsoever. Yeah, I was so depressed because I didn't have any friends, and I'm living my senior year, my last semester, without any friends, and I remember, man, I still remember this day, and I don't think I'll ever forget this day for the rest of my life, but I remember it was maybe like 2 months left before senior year concludes, and I'm just counting down the days. I want to graduate. I want to get out of there already. I want to be done with it. Like I'm done. I'm over it. And I remember I had my chicken and rice, because that's the go-to when you're bulking, chicken and rice. I had my chicken and rice, and I was sitting down in my truck by myself. I'm in the parking lot of the high school, and the way the parking lot is laid out is you have this is the parking lot, and then the school's just right in front of you. Like the side of the school's just right in front of you, so you can see all the students walking back and forth. Yeah. So I'm just sitting down in my car, and I'm eating chicken and rice, and I just have sad music playing. And this is, of course, during lunchtime when I'm eating my lunch. And I just see all the students, all the freshmen, all the juniors, all the sophomore. I just see them with their friends. They're laughing, they're having a good time. And I'm just there in my car, sitting alone, eating chicken and rice by myself. And I have no friends. I'm alone. And I even remember one day too, final semester of senior year, there was a girl I talked to quite often because she was also part of the video production crew. And she's passing by me, and she sees me sitting by myself, and she even tells me, she says, "You look so lonely." And I was. And I strongly believe that what happened in my final semester of high school was the consequences of my actions for all the wrong I had did, all the stubbornness, all the selfishness, the lustfulness. It led me to a point of my life of isolation because I didn't know how to act my age. I didn't know how to be mature. Graduation comes around, and that's it. I'm final day, we're all lined up, getting ready to graduate, go out to the field, go up to the, I think it's called a stage, podium, whatever, to collect your diploma. And I'm just talking to the other students there. I'm like, man, what are your plans? Oh, this guy, he's going to, what is it, Columbia? One of the Ivy Leagues? Columbus? No, I can't remember. But yeah, he's going to an Ivy League. Good for you. Oh, this person's going to UCLA, and this person is going to a very good school as well. And you're just hearing about all these people, and you think to yourself, man, I should have done things differently, because during high school I also was developing this really bad idea, philosophy, whatever, that school is useless. You don't need school. You can be a business person. School just teaches you how to work a 9 to 5, be part of the matrix. It doesn't get you anywhere. You learn information that you're never gonna use again. This and that and this and that and blah 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 blah. But the point of school was never to prepare you for the rest of your life, for every single awakening that you experience throughout your life. That's what I came to realize. And the thing was, I told myself I didn't need high school. I can just do stocks, bonds, do a business. I'll be rich. I'm never going to go to college. I'm not going to spend a dime. And funny enough, I did end up going to college eventually. I never really went through with college, but for many, many different reasons. Yeah, that was my mentality. But the problem with that is that if you don't have a good work ethic, if you don't know how to take on an obstacle now, if there's an assignment that's due at midnight that you really don't want to do, and you don't do it because you're going to graduate soon anyway, and it's not going to really hurt your grade that much, so you just half-A it, then I'm sorry to say, like, if you can't sustain a good work ethic now with very minor and insignificant effort, yeah, there you go. With very insignificant effort, you can just do your assignments, you know? Not saying like half A, I'm trying to say like, it's just get it done, you know what I mean? You just have to give it your best in every single thing you do. That's honestly the truth. You gotta do your best in every single thing you do. I should have done better, like, I should have just been more friendly with people. I should have just been more kind. I should have just let go. A couple years later, here I am now. I have no direction in life, and it is awesome. You're gonna be like, what the heck are you saying? Not having a direction in life? Are you insane? It doesn't seem like you got any better after high school since. And I don't have any friends still. Oh my gosh, why are you telling this, the little spoon? Yeah, I'm just gonna go by the little spoon. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean your life is awesome? You have no friends. You have no direction. Like, your life sounds like it kind of sucks, dude. Yeah, I'll admit my life does sound like it sucks surface level, but let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something, man. Jesus Christ, I go back to him all the time. He saved my life. And because of this, I got to know him and have a relationship with him. And instead of worrying about my future and what kind of career I'll have, I just leave all those worries to him, and I let him guide my path. And I've been doing that ever since I left high school. And I am still so happy with the life I have now. I have good relationship with my parents, my siblings. My siblings are coming to know the Lord very well too. You know, I have a beautiful home with a roof over my head to shelter me when it rains. I have a car to get me to point A to point B. You know, like, I'm blessed, and I feel so satisfied. I feel so fulfilled. I can truly say to you, in just a couple of years of living after high school, or I'm sorry, what I meant to say is like being out of high school, just a couple of years of being out of high school and everything that I've lived so far, and now being in my early 20s, I could honestly tell you, if I were to pass away tonight, I would have passed away living a very good life. A very good life. One last time for all those peeps, Jesus Christ is real. He saved my life, and he can you can save yours too.